breakfast. "Can you pick me up from school today?" I said the next morning, smearing some cream cheese on my bagel. Mum was making August's lunch, American cheese on whole wheat bread, soft enough for Augie to eat. While August sat eating oatmeal at the table, Dad was getting ready to go to work. Now that I was in high school, the new school routine was going to be that Dad and I would take the subway together in the morning, which meant his having to leave 15 minutes earlier than usual. Then I'd get off at my stop and he'd keep going. And Mum was going to pick me up after school in the car. "I was going to call Miranda's mother to see if she could drive you home again," Mum answered. "No, Mum," I said quickly. "You pick me up, or I'll just take the subway." "You know I don't want you to take the subway by yourself yet," she answered. "Mum, I'm 15. Everybody my age takes the subway by themselves." "She can take the subway home," said Dad from the other room, adjusting his tie as he headed into the kitchen. "Why can't Miranda's mother just pick her up again?" Mum argued with him. "She's old enough to take the subway by herself," Dad insisted. Mum looked at both of us. "Is something going on?" She didn't address her question to either one of us in particular. "You would know if you had come back to check on me," I said spitefully. "Like you said you would." "Oh God, Via," said Mum, remembering now how she had completely ditched me last night. She put down the knife she was using to cut Augie's grapes in half, still a choking hazard for him because of the size of his palate. "I am so sorry. I fell asleep in Augie's room. By the time I woke up..." I know, I nodded indifferently. Mum came over, put her hands on my cheeks and lifted my face to look at her. "I'm really, really sorry," she whispered. I could tell she was. "It's okay," I said. "Via!" "Mum, it's fine." This time I meant it. She looked so genuinely sorry, I just wanted to let her off the hook. She kissed and hugged me, then returned to the grapes. "So, is something going on with Miranda?" she asked. "Just that she's acting like a complete jerk," I said. "Miranda's not a jerk," Augie quickly chimed in. "She can be," I yelled. "Believe me." "Okay then, I'll pick you up, no problem," Mum said decisively, sweeping the half grapes into a snack bag with the side of her knife. "That was the plan all along anyway. I'll pick Augie up from school in the car and then we'll pick you up. We'll probably get there about 3:45. "No," I said firmly before she'd even finished. "Isabel, she can take the subway," said Dad impatiently. "She's a big girl now. She's reading War and Peace, for crying out loud." "What does War and Peace have to do with anything?" answered Mum, clearly annoyed. "It means you don't have to pick her up in the car like she's a little girl," he said sternly. "Via, are you ready? Get your bag and let's go." "I'm ready," I said, pulling on my backpack. "Bye, Mum. Bye, Augie." I kissed them both quickly and headed toward the door. "Do you even have a Metro card?" Mum said after me. "Of course she has a Metro card," answered Dad, fully exasperated. "Yeesh, Mama, stop worrying so much." "Bye," he said, kissing her on the cheek. "Bye, big boy," he said to August, kissing him on the top of the head. "I'm proud of you. Have a good day." "Bye, Daddy. You too." Dad and I jogged down the stoop stairs and headed down the block. "Call me after school before you get on the subway," Mum yelled at me from the window. I didn't even turn around, but waved my hand at her so she'd know I'd heard her. Dad did turn around, walking backward for a few steps. "War and peace, Isabel," he called out, smiling as he pointed at me. "War and peace." The next chapter, Genetics 101. Both sides of Dad's families were Jews from Russia and Poland. Papa's grandparents fled the pogroms and ended up in New York City at the turn of the century. Tata's parents fled the Nazis and ended up in Argentina in the 40s. Papa and Tata met at a dance at the Lower East Side while she was in town visiting a cousin. They got married, moved to Bayside, and had Dad and Uncle Ben. Mum's side of the family is from Brazil, except for her mother, my beautiful Grans, and her dad, Agosto, who died before I was born. The rest of Mum's family, all her glamorous aunts, uncles and cousins, still live in Alto Leblon, a ritzy suburb south of Rio. Grans and Agosto moved to Boston in the early 60s and had Mum and Aunt Kate, who's married to Uncle Porter. Mum and Dad met at Brown University and have been together ever since. Isabel and Nate, like two peas in a pod. They moved to New York right after college, had me a few years later, then moved to a brick townhouse in North River Heights, the hippie stroller capital of upper Manhattan, when I was about a year old. Not one person in the exotic mix of my family gene pool has ever shown any obvious signs of having what August has. I've pored over grainy sepia pictures of long-dead relatives in babushkas, black and white snapshots of distant cousins in crisp white linen suits, soldiers in uniform, ladies with beehive hairdos, Polaroids of bell-bottomed teenagers and long-haired hippies, and not once have I been able to detect even the slightest trace of August's face in their faces. Not a one. But after August was born, my parents underwent genetic counselling. They were told that August had what seemed to be a previously unknown type of mandibulofacial dystosis caused by an autosomal recessive mutation in the TCOF1 gene, which is located on chromosome 5, complicated by a hemifacial microsomia characteristic of OAV spectrum. Sometimes these mutations occur during pregnancy. Sometimes they're inherited from one parent carrying the dominant gene. Sometimes they're caused by the interaction of many genes, possibly in combination with environmental factors. This is called multifactorial inheritance. In August's case, the doctors were able to identify one of the single nucleotide deletion mutations that made war on his face. The weird thing is, though you'd never know it from looking at them, both my parents carry that mutant gene, and I carry it too.